All right, hey guys, how are you guys doing tonight? Welcome to another live stream state of the collection on the Bobby Legs channel. And tonight, I have a fellow watch enthusiast, Craig, to discuss his uh, collection and tell some stories. There's some really good stories that I'm anticipating here, and I can't wait to hear them. Craig, how are you today, and what do you have on wrist?
Thanks for having me, Bobby. This is really fun. I'm looking forward to chatting with you about my collection.
Yeah.
Tonight I have kind of an interesting, a fairly new watch in my collection. It's a Hamilton khaki air race. It's something
Nice.
that I just picked up here maybe a few weeks ago. It's in collaboration with the those airplanes that fly between the balloons, or not the balloons. Yeah.
The
I think,
Zeppelins.
yeah. So, cool watch, silver dial, striations on it, pretty cool. 42 millimeters. I'm liking, like Rob has always said, I like something with a little presence, and I finally, I think I'm embracing my 7.5-inch wrist.
Yeah, there you go. I got, and because I knew you were going to be on, and I know you like G-Shocks, and you have a new titanium, and you sold your old titanium. I should have just But anyway, that's a different story. I'm wearing my
Sweet.
my Tron. Yeah. I also I took out Mrs. Legs for her birthday for dinner just before, and so all day I was thinking, I'm gonna go with the Tron tonight.
Nice.
Yeah. So guys, from the chat, please chime in. Let us know what you're wearing, and also as we go through Craig's collection, whatever questions you have of the watch or Craig or just in general, please feel free to post a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys and love to get some interaction. Let's say hello to some people. We got Tennessee Mike. How you doing, man?
Hey,
Clayton from the Watchdog podcast. I like his little intro. Amin, how you doing, man? Ben, thanks for joining us.
Scott Rice.
Scott's here. Yeah.
Ben.
Kevin S.
In the house. Thanks
yeah.
Guys.
All right, so let's get started. Craig, you're on the hot seat. Okay. So first question that I ask everybody, and it's one of the most important questions that any watch enthusiast can reflect upon is, how did you get into watches, man? Like, what was it?
Well, growing up and stuff, it wasn't like, my family was huge into watches. I mean, I remember my dad wearing something with like a, one of those expandable, bands on it and stuff. So it wasn't anything that was really important. But I had like triathlon watches and stuff. I was always active in sports, but that was about it. Once I got my way through college, landed my first job after school. I don't know what it was. Just started getting into a little bit more. Remember buying some Citizen watches.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the wife and I got engaged, of course I got her the engagement ring, but she got me a watch. And I think maybe it was at that point where, really started to take some priority in my life. And, it was a Tag Heuer. God, I can't think of it. I would think it was a 300 SDL, Sports Elegant or something, line. So that kind of got me into nicer watches. It was a quartz, but still you're wearing a tag. So
right.
I think it was at that point, but it never really got much more than that. I mean, I think one of our anniversaries years later, I got another tag, but this one wasn't automatic. But at that point, I still didn't even know too much about watches, especially automatic watches. I remember taking it back to the AD and telling him that, you know, wasn't keeping very good time because I didn't have the concept that you're used to a quartz watch, and you're like,
right.
you know, over the course of, you know, so many days, the thing's off by minutes, you know, and
Right.
now I look back and I just laugh.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't know anything about automatic watches. And fast forward to late 2018, all of a sudden, I don't know what it was, just maybe some YouTube videos, and boom, I'm hooked. Just consuming, and bought a Orient Ray 2. And I think that was like the one that kicked off the addiction.
That was the launching pad.
Yep.
The launching point. Yeah.
Yep. And then from there, it gets into the list that we're gonna the watches that I picked out for today. So.
Yeah, and I think, Craig, like I think a lot of us can identify with that because, you know, I too, a couple of years ago, I was into watches a while back and started collecting, and then kind of like lost the enthusiasm. Also, the downturn in the economy in the late 2008, 2007, 2008. You know, I wasn't thinking about watches then. I was just thinking about holding down some work, you know, and paying bills. And then around 2017, 2018, something happened. Yeah, you know, that's around the same time as what happened to you. And then I just got hooked. And then, you know, it wasn't the Orient for me, but it was a Seiko SKX, right? Because I mean, that's you know, everybody has a Seiko SKX, and I probably should do like a Seiko SKX challenge with everybody who comes on. How many Seiko SKX have you owned? You know, and in your collector history. But I definitely identify a lot with that. And, you know, Kevin here is saying, you know, TGV probably hooked Craig. Maybe, right, Craig? I mean, was there a lot of consumption of TGV?
Yeah, it was him. It was, you know, the Time Teller. Those were probably two big influences early on. But yeah, it's funny. That kind of ebbs and flows. I watch more TGV than I do Time Teller these days, but
right, same here. Yeah,
there's a lot of other channels too that I watch now.
Yeah. So look, let's jump into it. And so I'm gonna share my screen. It just takes me a second, and we're gonna start off with your first watch. Yeah, hold on one second. I'm still trying to get this. This going here.
Your Tennessee Mike knows what this one's going to be.
Yeah. So let me know. Hold on. Pardon me. Of course, everything worked before we came online.
It always works.
And now it is not. So let me just try this one more time. I swear I'm going to get this down one day. But anybody who knows. All right. So you're probably seeing my screen now. Are you seeing my? Are you?
I'm not seeing any watches, but I'm seeing you move the screen.
Okay. Not sure what's going on right now. You know, this is where Amin is a big help. Usually, here we go. Okay. Now we got it right.
There we go.
Okay. So now the first watch here that we have. Let me go back here.
Go back.
Is the Omega Seamaster. So tell me about this one.
This was shortly. So I mentioned December of 2018. This was the end. This was mid-January 2019.
Yeah.
I'm in Vegas with the wife for the Consumer Electronics Show, and we're spending some time after the show at the Encore Wynn facility. Nice. And, you know, they have like a mall within there, and we're just walking around, and I'm like, oh, look, you know, the Switzerland. And then you go walk a little bit farther, and oh, look, there's an Omega boutique and a Breitling boutique. And so, you know, I had to go check them out.
Right.
So, no intention at all of buying, just, you know, oh, cool, let's go check out all the cool watches they have, right?
Right.
So wife stayed in the room, you know, I think even went down and just saw this watch. And, you know, I put that center picture there with Danielle Craig. You know, we're both, the wife and I, are huge Bond fans. And
right.
So, you know, that watch that he's wearing is my watch here, but on a rubber strap. So,
Right.
you know, I was very aware of this watch, and when I saw it, and you know, I couldn't resist. So, you know, the picture there on the left is me at the table, you know, after you know, putting it on for the first time.
Right. Right. So now, was this like your first big
Oh yeah.
jump? Yeah.
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 I mean, yeah, I'll take the quartz, you know, tag Heuer and the automatic Curium tag Heuer. But yeah, I mean, like I said, $160, you know, Orient Ray 2 with plus some mod parts.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way to jump into the pool, man. You know what I mean? That's one big, that's like a cannonball, man. That's like a big splash, right? That was an awesome jump there, man. And it's such a great watch, you know, and you know, chronometry certified, right? I mean, it's got like a big coaxial movement in it, you know, that famous coaxial movement that Omega produces, and just a fantastic watch, man. Love that.
Little card that you scan with the app, and then it'll go to, because it's Meta certified, which is that special, you know, certification process that they have with only Omega, and you go through and it'll tell you how it did in each of the, I forget, there's like 6 or 8 tests, and you touch on the test and it tells you what is done in the test, and then you can see what the spec is and the result of your watch.
Right.
It's pretty crazy. It's
yeah.
Really
awesome. Okay, so let's now move on to the next watch, and that is one of my favorites in your collection. I'm a big Tudor fan.
Yeah.
The Pelagos. So tell me what spawned this one. What made you get this one here?
Well, you know, at this point, it's, you know, I'm hooked into the watch thing, and wife was looking at a different Tudor, the bronze heritage, and you know, I thought I wasn't really, you know, Rolex makes a great watch, but I just didn't want to play the game with, you know, a sub or something like that. And I thought, yeah, I really love sports watches, and you know, I hadn't tried out the titanium thing, and so I ended up just we ordered them. We ended up getting them from the same dealer, because you know, my Omega was from the boutique, but it was all kind of connected with the Watches of Switzerland AD.
Okay.
So yeah, so I ended up getting the Pelagos, and got the wife a bronze heritage classic or something too.
That's awesome.
So yeah, come on, you know, FedEx. But I love this watch. It you know, it's a little bit bigger in size, 42 by 50, and it's, you know, because it's the in-house movement, it's got some thickness, but man, there's something about I love the snowflake hands.
Okay.
I had never experienced a 60-click bezel before. And then having it be titanium, it's just a little different. I can't explain it, but it just and it lines up perfect. Like, and if you haven't, like, it's a really nice class. I wish you know, it's got the
easy glide.
Yeah, well, it
kind of
3 notches, and then the 4th notch, and then it activates a spring, and that spring kind of allows it to expand and contract with your wrist, which is nice. I'm just hoping the spring loosens up a bit. I like I'm a bracelet guy, and I like watches that slide on your wrist a little bit.
Yeah. So now, were you always into the snowflake hands? Because for me, you know, it took my first reaction when I saw it was utter disgust. But then, you know, soon after, it became an obsession, and I fell in love with it. So did you have kind of that, like, a reaction to it, or did you always just like the snowflake hands?
I really liked it from day one. I think I've heard you talk about that before with the snowflake hands, and you know, I have maybe a similar reaction to the lugs on an Oris Aquis. I think I've you know, kind of done 180 with that, kind of like you did with the snowflake hands. But I've always loved the snowflake hands, and in fact, I I like them so much, you know, that you'll see in my next watch, it's even got snowflake hands too. So, yeah, no, I love, and as you can see, I used to, I used to change straps so often.
Yeah.
I find that I just don't now as much. I've really kind of honed in on being a bracelet guy.
Bracelet.
But I do like NATOs. Like I said, I just like the slide on the wrist. So if
Right.
that means a NATO does that, or leather, but typically leather doesn't, and typically rubber doesn't either. Rubber kind of sticks, and so does leather. Scott, my see your question there. My wrist size is 7.5 inches.
One final question on the Pelagos, and I know some people, I've heard some people comment about the lack of the magnifier on the date. Was that something that you considered or not considered on watches in general, or with the Pelagos? Does it matter to you?
You know, at that point, when I pull the trigger on that, it wasn't even on my radar.
Gotcha.
No, I mean, you know that the subs got them and all that. I had never had a watch with a date magnifier, so it wasn't really something that that I really had an opinion about one way or the other. I mean, you know, I need reading glasses now, so you know, getting old.
Yeah.
But
Right.
It really hasn't been an issue. I kind of like the clean sapphire
crystal
surface of not having it personally.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't really. I mean, some watches I feel like it looks better than others on, and it's never been a deal breaker for me. But I know, and I've read some people have said that, you know, it's kind of a deal breaker, either with one or without one. So just wondering here, and Tennessee Mike Snowflake hands.
One of my other watches has a date magnifier, which you'll see. You know, and even some of the monsters have them. We'll get to talking about that later, but yeah.
Awesome. All right, so then speaking of, let's jump into the other watch that has the snowflake hands, and that is the NTH Nacken.
Yes, I love this watch. You know, everybody had always spoke so highly of the Nacken, of the NTH watches. You know, the subs as they're called. And I wanted to try one. So I was listening, another person that I'd listened to a lot, Brad, the budding watch enthusiast. Not sure what happened to his channel, but anyways, he had one, and I would see it on his videos, and it was just so dynamic. I mean, you can see in some of the pictures it's more blue, and some it's more kind of brownish tan. So it's a great watch. If nobody's ever tried one, they're 40 millimeters by 48 millimeters, and they're only, with the crystal, they're only 11.5 thick.
Yeah. So is that a Miyota in there, or an H35?
It is the Miyota, and
that's why it's thin.
Yeah, you can hear it occasionally if you're your wrist around, but I don't.
That's never bothered me.
No, I know some people. You know, there's a certain YouTuber that calls it something like purring cats or something.
Yeah,
but,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So now, did you get the NTH before you got the Pelagos, or after?
It was actually after. I keep my watches in my watch box in the order that I received them.
Yeah.
Now there may have been, you know, other watches that kind of came and left, but no, I had the Tudor before. And if you put these side by side, you know, the Tudor side by side to the NTH, I think the Tudor does have better proportions in terms of the indices and the snowflake hands, but it is, you know, it's a little bit bigger too.
How's that beads of rice bracelet? That looks like it's going to be super comfy there.
To be honest, I haven't worn it much, and the reason I included it in there, kind of another little story, since I liked it so much, and I decided that I wanted a white dial in my collection. So
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at a white dial, and my wife was kind of interested, and you know, because she's in the hobby too. We both got the sickness, and we thought, well, what'll happen is we'll get the watch and we'll share it.
Right.
And so what I'll do is I'll buy a beads of rice bracelet, and so when I want to wear it, I'll wear the beads of rice, and then you can get it with the stock bracelet.
Right.
Well, it didn't really work out. The one that we ordered had a loomed dial, and it was just a little too like greenish tinge for me during the day. So she kind of inherited it, and it's, you know, that stock oyster is so darn comfortable.
It is. It is.
It's hard to want to take it off.
Mm-hmm. I got a chance to review. I think it was a Barracuda. Is that NTH Barracuda? Was that it? No, not.
It's something like that. Though,
something like that. Something like that. And it had the gilt hands and it was such a great watch. It belonged to Chris over at the Watch Lounge, and he, after I got my Tudor Black Bay, he was like, I gotta. And when he got this one, he was like, I gotta send this to you because it reminds me a lot. Because I think he might have owned the Black Bay 58 before or had experience with it, and so it was, you know, I looked at it and I'm like, it didn't have the snowflake hands, but I was looking at it, I'm like, man, you know, one's X amount and the other one's X amount, but what is the real difference here? You know what I mean? Like stylistically, and the way it looked and the way it felt, I'm like, man, this is. I mean, look, I know the Black Bay 58 is more refined and better finished, but man, the NTH, man, really builds a good watch. You know what I mean?
Man, they're great.
Yeah.
Really great.
Hey, MJ, how are you?
Ben, they are very dialed in.
Yeah, very dialed in, man. Very dialed in. And they sell really well, right? I mean, like a lot of their watches usually sell out in time, and then now they're coming out with newer kind of watches, the Devil Rays or something like that. You know, something that looks a little bit different than their typical watches, their typical releases from the past. Alrighty, so let's jump into the next one.
Yeah.
And this one, so I want to hear a little bit more about this one for sure. Christopher Ward.
I know that there's a lot of people that don't like the
sorry.
You had
technical difficulties. Technical difficulties here. I'm not on my A game today. I think it was too much at dinner with Mrs. Legs. Yeah. And her birthday's and her birthday's tomorrow. Wasn't today, but still.
So, what's the story behind the C65 Pepsi?
Yeah.
Well, the wife actually had that identical watch, and I believe it's now under the ownership of Mr. Ben Mullinex.
Nice.
And she had it, and I bought. You can see in the other picture there, I had a Steinhardt, you know, Pepsi GMT because I thought the Rolex model was awesome.
Right.
And that did have a date magnifier come if you look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I didn't like it, I did, but something just didn't sit right with me. And so while my wife was away, this is before, you know, COVID, she was on a business trip somewhere, and she didn't take that watch. And so I took her watch, which is the one there on the right in the right picture. It's the 65. So I took it off the bracelet because she's got a 6 1/8 inch wrist. Put it on a NATO, and then put mine on a NATO, and I was trying them on, and I took pictures of my wrist with both of them on there, and I was trying them with, you know, hit them with a flashlight and check out the lume, and just, you know, trying it on and seeing how I liked it. Basically kind of came to the conclusion that I felt it was a better watch and a more refined watch. So I ended up selling the Steinhardt and picking up the Christopher Ward, and I absolutely love it. It's thin.
Mm-hmm.
It wears great. The great crown action, great bezel action. The clasp has that. You got to take it off, but you can adjust it without any tools. Great watch. I actually, yes, they could probably change some stuff around to make the dial more balanced, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's kind of unique and I like it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm looking at the image with the bracelet, and it looks really, really sharp. I'm not sure how I feel about it on the NATO there, but on the bracelet, it looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't wear NATOs much anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see what else what's going on here with the comments. Thoughts on the Christopher Ward compressor?
They changed the logo location, and I know that's going to make a lot of people happy. They put it at 12 o'clock. It is supposed to be, I believe the super compressor case started as a 65 case, but it does have the technology of the original super compressors, where the deeper you go, the gasket seals better. So.
There you go. Hey, Random Rob, how you doing?
Rob.
So before we continue further, do you have a preference towards a type of watch? I mean, I've been seeing a lot of divers, and I think that's what your answer is going to be. But do you find yourself, wanting to stick with them? I mean, there's nothing. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. I think we're all kind of dive fans, and at the end of the day, pretty much. But do you worry about diversity, brand diversity, genre of watch diversity?
Yeah, it's in my mind now. I think initially, as when you dive in, you just want to consume and figure out what you like, and that was kind of both my wife and I did the same thing. Kind of, we'll try something. Like she wanted to try a cushion case, so she bought a Long Island watch for $300 before going and spending big bucks on a limited edition or something higher priced. And I did something similar where I would try a lower cost alternative to figure out what I liked. And my taste, as you can see, does tend towards divers, and I'm here and there, like this watch that I have on, this is a non-diver. So, I'm trying to branch out. I had a dress watch Hamilton that older, ended up getting rid of that one. So I'm still figuring out, but I think for the most part, I enjoy divers the most.
Yeah, I mean, they're just great. I mean, like there's so many options out there, right? Because brands and micro brands, they know what us watch enthusiasts or most of us like, and some of these divers are just at any price range, right? There's always a really good looking diver, no matter where you look at, no matter what website you go on or what YouTube channel you go on. Somebody's always got something, and it's hard not to love them, right?
Yeah, Rob, your Black Bay 41 without the rotating bezel. That is a model that seeing you wear it now for half a month. I've even looked at it before this, and that is a model that's definitely on my radar. Yeah,
I have a smaller wrist than you guys, and the 36 was on my radar too before I got the Black Bay 58. The original one. I just like that. Well, I like the snowflake hands, and the kind of like explorer-esque feeling I get from that watch. All right, so let's jump into the next one.
And Rob is right on time.
He is.
Because you're gonna say, why? Wait a minute. There's two watches here.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's just one watch. So I wanted to try Monster, and Rob was downsizing his collection. So I ended up buying his. I don't know what the model number is, but it was the watch there on the right hand side. It was
the blue coral.
The blue, Monster with the yellow second hand.
Yeah.
And it was a great watch, but something about the blue just didn't sit with me right. Like it's a nice blue, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't the right shade of blue that I wanted.
Right.
But I loved, and he loves his orange Monster, and I really like the color orange. So I thought, well, why don't I see if I could send if somebody could modify it for me.
Okay.
So I actually sent it to Loom Shot.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so he changed the dial,
That's wild.
the hands, and if you notice, the original watch was just a date.
Yeah.
But the true orange version was a date.
Right.
So you didn't have to change the any wheels that was already there, but it just became visible when he got the right dial. But he also put a double dome sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on it for me.
Wow.
So I probably like doubled the price of the watch.
Right.
With the mods, but I absolutely love it. He did a fantastic job. So if anybody's out there and can actually book time with Eric or Loomshot, highly recommended.
That's bananas, man. That's awesome, man. I mean, like, I had the same exact watch that you had on the right at one point, and I sold it, and then I picked up an orange monster, pretty much almost as the same one as you have here on the left, and I sold both of them, and the monster is one of those watches that comes in and out of my collection, and then when it's out of my collection, I think to myself, why did I do that? But then when it comes back, it just doesn't stay. Have you had that kind of experience with any of the watches? Have you rebought watches?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
This is about the
Good for you.
closest that it's been. But I've changed it to get it the way I wanted it. But
Yeah.
no, I know some people have policies, no rebuy policy. I don't know. Maybe I don't have too much of an opinion, for myself about that yet. But I won't rule it out. But I won't,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Watch collecting strategy. I really need to experience the monster. It's such a cool looking piece. I think the monster is like, so it's so unique in the Seiko dive collection, right? There's really nothing like it. And it was like a form of, it was a curiosity to me, you know what I mean? And I think you need to experience to know whether you like it or not. Like at first I was repelled a little bit. But then like it was calling me, and I had to get it a couple times, and I'm glad I bought them. I'm not so glad that I sold them, but I guess there's a reason at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm glad you have it. I'm glad you did this, because I never heard anybody doing that to a monster, and that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
I think I still have the crystal if anybody's interested, but the dial got sold within the group. So somebody could have a cool Seiko monster dial on their watch.
And monsters are awesome. Yeah, Tennessee Mike, thank you. Daniel, you've never been a monster fan. Okay, well that's totally fine.
Different strokes for different folks.
Sinn used to look like a great daily driver. Yeah, well, the Zinn, and there's one in Craig's collection, not a dive watch, but you'll see soon. The U50 is really, I have this, I feel like I'm too diver heavy now in my collection, and if I was to break that thinking and buy another dive watch, I think it'd be the Zinn U50. I think the proportions are perfect for me. I think every now and again I should rebuy the Dracula monster. That's a classic, right? I mean, like that's one of those where you can't really find those. I mean, I really haven't seen one in a while. Every once in a while you see one on eBay, but they're always asking an arm and a leg for one of those, I feel.
The only place to get Zinn watches, I believe, is
in the U.S.
Yeah, it's not like dealers around. I mean, unless you can find one used that somebody took in on trade or something, but no.
Yeah, watch buys and Junior, watch buys, they do a roadshow, right? I don't know. I know they probably go to Chicago, because they go to New York, they go to L.A. I would imagine they would have to go to Chicago. So I don't know how close you are, Junior, but to them. But you can go on their website, and now since whatever's going on in the world right now is kind of slowing things up, I don't know if they have any future dates planned out, but you can always go and sign up for their newsletter. And that's how I got, informed. And me and my buddy Ryan went last December to the show in New York City. So let's move on to the next one. I really, really like this next brand. And I want to pick one up one of these days.
There's this exact watch on, there's this one, and the blue version are available used right now.
The Zodiac?
Toppers out in Burlingame, California. Earlier this week, they had this yellow one, as well as there's another version with the blue and white checker bezel in their used section. So
how cool is this watch, man? Like, this is that bezel pops.
It's not showing.
It's not showing. Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
You had it up, and then it like scrolled through.
Okay, sorry about that.
No
I'm really having some issues here tonight.
Your computer's not cooperating with you.
Well, you know what it is. I have this webcam, and it only plugs in. I only have one USB. And usually I use a mouse with Bluetooth and a USB to navigate. So I'm down one USB. So I have to do everything with the finger, and it's just brutal. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. So tell me about this one, man.
I don't know. It just Instagram, YouTube. You start seeing and appreciating Zodiac watches. And so I check into them a little bit, and podcast, even Clayton's podcast and two podcast. I know Kat's got the blue version of this, and I saw the yellow, and I thought, the dial. It's maybe hard to see in the picture, but if you zoom way in, it's this this quality where it just, when you get it in the right light, it's so gorgeous. And the shovel hands are really unique with the little pop of red there in the second hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a really cool looking watch. And, I'm not one for butterfly clasps because my wrist expands and contracts quite a bit. But you can see there in the right picture, and the reason I included, it's got a butterfly clasp, but right above and below the Zodiac symbol, you can kind of see there's like a little millimeter or whatever gap. And what I'm doing with my fingers there when I took the pictures, I'm expanding it to show you that even though it's a butterfly clasp, it does allow for some wrist expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not just left.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Rigid connection. It does for allow some, which is kind of nice because, butterfly clasps just don't have any micro
adjustments.
Yeah. Micro adjust. So I thought that was really cool. And it's, and the other thing that's really nice about this watch is the taper on the bracelet. It just, I should measure it, it's 20, and it probably goes down to, 16, if not 15. I mean, it's just a really dramatic taper. Just wears beautifully.
I just can't get over this yellow bezel, man. I mean, I think that is just what an awesome way to get a yellow into your collection. You know what I mean? That is just awesome. The checkered pattern there, so cool, so cool.
I like the fact that it's no date too, because most of my watches, to be honest, are dates.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice, varying it up and not having a date. I mean, that may sound trivial, but
no, I hear you. Actually, most of my watches don't have a date, and I have a couple that one or two that do, and it's kind of nice. It is a nice kind of a breakup of the collection there. Oh wow, super chat.
By
awesome.
You.
Yes. Oh, thanks, Daniel. Yes.
Hey, donation there for your USB hub fund.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Daniel. That's funny. How's the comfort in the Zodiac Jubilee compared to the other bracelets of yours? Ben is asking.
I right towards the top. I mean, most of the bracelets, to be honest, that I have, you know, like the Omega doesn't taper hardly at all. The Tudor does a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The C65 Christopher Ward does some, but not as nearly as dramatic. I think it's towards the top. I mean, it fits my 7.5-inch wrist well. There's enough slack, and then when it expands, it just moves those out a little bit. It's nice, but not all Zodiacs have that clasp. They're like, that was one of the things that I found when I was looking at different models. Like, this is a limited edition, and you know, it's got a COSC certified movement, and it's got the 3-33 instead of the 1-11. You know, and the bracelet's different, and yeah, it seems like all of their models are kind of unique.
Yeah, super interesting brand. You know, here Kevin makes a really good point. Great summer watches, like the watermelon colors, the two-tone Seawolf is so 80s cool. And yeah, I mean, they definitely reach back into the playbook and with some of their reissues. And they're fun watches. They're really fun and very good quality watches, man.
Yeah. I agree with G. Widman, you know, about keeping them away from the Omega Aquaracer, as well as the wife just got an Omega Railmaster. She traded in some, got rid of watches, yeah, and got it yesterday. And the thing is great, especially in her smaller wrist, but it's got that butterfly clasp. It's like, you're killing me, Omega.
Yeah.
But
okay. So now let's move on to the next one. And
my soft spot.
The Tag Heuer Aquaracer.
Yeah. As we talked about at the beginning, you know, my wife gave me a tag SEL for when we got engaged. And so I've always had a soft spot for tag. And that watch, that Orient Ray 2 that I had, that kind of got me into watches again and kind of kicked off the habit. I eventually modded it, and I put it was a blue dial, blue bezel, and I eventually modded it to have a Batman colored 12-hour bezel on it.
Right.
And I really just loved it. But over the course of time, I don't know if it was the crown was a little small and kind of I didn't care for it, and just wanted something a little nicer. And I was contemplating, you know, what, you know, Batman GMT watches can I get? I'm looking at Steinhardt again, and I'm looking at a few others, and Squale, I think, made one. And I thought, you know what? I don't need the darn 12-hour bezel. You know, a dive bezel is fine for grilling meat or, you know, most things that I do.
Right.
And I found this one, and, you know, it's got those Batman colors, but it's not a Batman, and it's a tag.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, I have a soft spot for. It's not the current model. It's a 41 millimeter, but it came on that cool strap that had a deployant. But I find those fitted straps and stuff. I don't know if it's just my wrist size or what it is, but they don't conform very well. So I ended up getting a Stabe mesh and put it on the left picture, and it
looks great.
Looks, yeah, it's $50.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those inexpensive clasps. It's not like the fold over. It's just the kind where you pull up on the screwdriver and slide the thing back, and the little But yeah, I love it. The dial texture, phenomenal. Going back to the date window magnifier, this one's got one, but it works.
Yeah, I think so too. And the Aquaracer was such a fun watch, man. I mean, like, you know, there's so many people who knock the watch, and I just never got that. I never understood it. You know, I'm sure they have their reasons, but I've always found it to be fun, and the different color variations that they offer. I really like the Aquaracer. I really like this pick. This is a great little watch.
Have you seen the new ones with the like fiery?
I have.
That's phenomenal.
I have.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're soft,
Awesome.
they're soft on the, used market, so I understand why people, they get some hate, but
well, I mean, like, we're probably maybe roughly the same age. I remember the 90s, and I remember talking about this with Amin and a couple other guys. In the 90s, man, there was just two brands. There's Rolex and Tag Heuer, right? They advertised so well. They marketed themselves so well. And it just seems like it's been weird what's happened with them the last couple of years in the enthusiast community, like the appreciation. I know a lot of their stuff in the lower end is not great, but some of their stuff in the lower end is still pretty good. The mid and the high, like, I mean, I love the Monaco, and the Carrera, still great watches, and there's a lot of there should be more love for Tag, I think, whether they deserve it or not. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, some people don't like Tag; they like Heuer, but not
right, and that's a little silly to me, but whatever. It is what it is,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump to the next guy. And this one is one of my favorites in your collection, and I'm so bummed that I missed out on this one. And I thought I had some time when it came out earlier this year. I was like, there's no way this thing's going to sell out anytime soon. Let me just hold off a little bit, because I had other watches that I was looking at, and I missed my boat. And now these things on the pre-owned market you see them $1,800-$1,900. I mean, I don't know if they're selling for that, but that's what they're asking for. Yeah. Tell me about this one.
It wasn't necessarily on my list of must-haves, but I always enjoyed the 104, but preferred the Arabic numerals.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you could only get the Arabic numerals in like the limited editions. They had the green last year, or anyways, I love blue. It's probably my favorite color. So I didn't order it right away. I don't know what it was. Maybe I think it was funds at the time, the all stopping power. Yeah, ordered it eventually, and I think it was towards the end too, and just so fortunate because the dial, when you get it in sunlight, and you can kind of see see it here in some of these pictures, it's just outstanding. And I know you're a big German watch fan, and I've never experienced a German watch before, so it's thin, it wears well. Bidirectional bezel.
Yeah.
Just, can't say enough about it. You can see I ended up upgrading and getting the stock bracelet for it. H-Link wears nice, but the clasp leaves a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, and that's a running theme on a lot of their models using that H-Link bracelet and clasp. I have the same issue with my 856, the tegimented, and the clasp. It's a little bit, I mean, like, it's kind of like a letdown, right? I mean, you see a clasp on your NTH, right? And other models in those micro brands in the same, $500, $600 range that are way better than that clasp in the Zinn, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
you got 3 adjusts,
yeah,
and then you got a diver's extension, which gets in the way of adding more. So, yeah. I mean, if it fits your wrist, if it happens to fit your, size wrist well, then you're good. But for me, I'm in the middle, and then when I expand, it gets too tight. So
and not only that, but and I thought maybe it was an issue with the one watch that I have, the fold over, the little fold over clasp there. It just never seems to get that click, that satisfying click. And I thought it was just fine, but I come to find out that I had a previous Zinn that I had the same issue, and a friend of mine has a Zinn now as well, and it's the same thing. So I don't know if that's just a running common theme, or it just happens to be like dumb luck that I've had that issue. But I mean, they could step up. That's the one part where they could step up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the watch, everything about it is is awesome.
If I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't have got the bracelet.
Yeah.
And just got an aftermarket, like another stave or something.
Right.
In a perfect world, it would have more micro adjust.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going to nitpick, I would change the H link so that it's brushed or it's polished on the H's and then brushed in the center, because then it matches the case better.
Mm-hmm.
Just a nitpick, but it's a great watch.
Yeah. And for me, you know, I didn't. I've handled a couple 104s and never owned one. Chris sent me one in to review a few months ago, and man, I was thinking to myself, you know, if this was a year ago, I would totally buy this watch. I mean, right now, you know, I have a couple of I have 3 or 4 watches in my collection that are good daily drivers, and the 104 is a great daily driver. I didn't need another one, but man, it's such a great watch, man. It's such a fun watch to own, and I'm glad you have that one, man. And I hope you keep it for a really long time.
The wife was talking, and we were talking about that tonight at dinner. You know, I told her she should wait for next year's limited edition and get that, because she's looking for a German watch. I told her she should talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, please. I mean, I have. There's a lot of watches that we don't even know about here in the States that are out there. I'm getting one in the next week or so, and I can't wait to get it and show all you guys and do a review, because it has a lot of commonality with Sinn, and I'm looking forward to that. But I would love, you know, let's do another German watch Zoom like we did a few months back. Okay, so let's jump to the next one.
MJ, it actually came with 2 cloth bands, that tan, and it came with like a gray too. I haven't really worn much of either, but yeah, the next one.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah,
I figured it out that if I double click by accident, it's a problem. Okay, I know that technology, man. Sorry, Craig. I mean,
no worries. Congratulations, Jeffrey. Gonna pull the trigger on that white dial 104 tomorrow.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay, this one. Talk to me, man. I have Doxa Envy. Please tell me about this.
Yes. So Doxa wasn't one of those brands that I was aware of. You know, I'm new to this watch collecting journey thing, and wasn't something that I was initially familiar with. And you know, by the time I came seriously considering Doxa or even knew much about them, I had already had my orange monster, and I was very happy with it. So, you know, I know that the orange, you know, Doxas are the essential Doxas in some people's minds, but I'll tell you what, you know, I love yellow too. And, you know, as you could see from my previous watches, really appeals to me. And I thought that this yellow dial was just spectacular too. So, you know, Rob had done some videos on an Aqualung version previously. I think maybe it was Bruce's, and I was like, oh man, if I get one, I'm getting the yellow. So eventually, you know, this is another COVID watch, I guess you could say. You know, pull the trigger on it, and couldn't be happier. It fits great. It's got one of those push button and pull it out, and it extends while it's on your wrist. With the little fish guy on the clasp. You can see there I've got it on a Barton Elite strap too, just to change it up.
Silicone.
Yeah, the silicone. It's black on top and yellow on the bottom. So fits great. You know, the only thing about the 300T is the model on this one. If you like, my wife can't wear it because it right where it's stepped out coming out of the case there, and you know, if you got a small wrist, that's where it goes around your wrist, and it just looks not so good.
Gotcha.
So if you've got probably under I don't know, like 6.5, maybe 6.5 or under, you're probably, it's not going to work. But I love it.
Good looking watch, man. Doxa is another one of those like iconic brands that you know, I would love to have in a collection one day, man. And their bracelets, they look phenomenal. I'm sure that bracelet is very, very comfortable on wrist.
They're pricey if you get whether you get the if you order it an extra either strap or bracelet, they're pricey. They're really proud of their bracelets and straps.
Are we talking over five? Well, probably over 500, right? I would imagine.
I want to say that they're like 450 or 405, depending. They do now. To be fair, they do have the metal like clasp, like the bracelets do. So so the rubber comes with that metal clasp. So it's not just a inexpensive piece of rubber.
Well, that's nice of them. Blue shirt, the beads of rice bracelet is the most comfortable bracelet. It's hard to argue with that, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Let's see
if they're single, beads, individual, and not, connected, all connected.
Yeah, it looks awesome on the strap.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm into big strap. He's not a bracelet guy. He likes the straps for sure. Blue shirt, he likes the 300T Caribbean. Yeah, that's a great color, man.
It's a great summer watch too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, and so I'm sorry.
Kevin asked, no, the new Doxa, it's the 300, and the 300 is, oh gosh, it's a little thinner. But the dial and everything is like a millimeter or two smaller. It's COSC certified now, and what else? Oh, it's like $600 more.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nice, but to me, I think the dial on the Doxa is on the smaller side to begin with, and the new 300 model is even smaller. I just hope. But they did make improvements to it. I just hope that they still offer both, but I have a feeling that they're probably not.
Okay, I told you, Craig, that an hour is gonna come and go, man, and we still got one more watch in the collection.
One more watch, right there.
And this one, I'm obsessed with this one, I have to admit, and that is the new titanium G-Shock blue camo. Man, what a great looking watch.
I really like this watch. It's the latest in my collection. Absolutely love it. Had the original black titanium camo that I really liked, but blue, like I said, blue is my favorite color. I thought it was a little bit more unique. And truthfully, I knew I was going to like it because, and this is kind of a funny little story. I tried a SKME watch. You know how they do knockoffs?
Yep.
Knockoffs of like the Casio World Timer 1200. They also do knockoffs of G-Shocks. And I bought a blue one. So I kind of knew that I was gonna like it.
Yeah.
More so than most people. So when it arrived, it was love at first sight. Wears great. It's your typical G-Shock with all the accoutrement, solar, atomic, Bluetooth. Yeah.
Now, have you owned a metal G-Shock in the past or currently?
I had the silver, with the rubber strap, but I ended up getting the J's and K's adapters, and wore it on NATO because I wasn't a big fan of the rubber strap. But again, I was like MJ here. Not a fan of the G-Shocks, and Rob and all the guys that I watched on YouTube were huge G-Shock fans. I'm like, what am I not getting here? So I bought one of those. Bought that silver SKME shock from AliExpress for like less than $20, and I'm like, okay, rather than I guess I could have spent 50 or 20 on a cheap G-Shock, but I'm like, why don't I get the metal so SKME shock. So I did and
Well,
kind of fell
well,
in love with it.
well, I was getting at is I wanted to know since you've had experience with or seen if you had experience with the metal G-Shock and the titanium, how much lighter, as a person who's interested in getting a titanium, how much lighter does it feel? Is it a world of difference?
It's noticeably different.
Okay,
I mean, you've never handled the titanium one, have you?
I
But
have not yet. No,
because your Tron, I mean that's basically,
it's a
you know,
metal G-Shock. It's
yeah,
a yeah.
right. Um, I wish I would have waited. Um, no, I mean, I've got a scale that could do grams, so yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't, but some people I know don't care for titanium watches because they don't have that feeling of heft.
Hmm.
Um, I wouldn't say it's that light. I'll, it's there, but I mean, I could see where you could kind of forget.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not super light, but it's pretty darn light. I mean, you go back and watch one of Rob's videos. I
Mhm.
think he weighed his original black titanium. They're pretty
Yeah,
light.
because I'm at a point where I'm starting to appreciate lighter watches. I'm not sure why. I have a couple watches that are definitely heavy on wrist, and this Tron, I'm always reminded that it's on. It's not terribly heavy, but I could go lighter. But I'm not necessarily crazy about your run-of-the-mill titanium watch. This, of course, your watch is different than that, and that's what piques my interest. Along with it being a G-Shock. Now I know there's a couple people in the chat are saying, well, they don't get what it's about with the G-Shock, and I, like you, I didn't get it, even though I did get it. It is nostalgic for me. I had G-Shocks when I was a kid, and I had the DW 5600, the resin one, and I love it. But I didn't see myself as collecting more G-Shocks until I'm starting to collect more G-Shocks.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, look at your collection, right? You got this Omega Seamaster, right? You got the Zen, you got the Tudor, but you also have the G-Shock. And the thing is, what I like about your collections, and what is okay for everybody to admit, is like, I don't collect watches the same way you collect watches, the same way somebody else collects watches. We all have a different way of collecting and what appeals to us. And so you can have the Omega and the G-Shock or not, and it's okay.
I'm with Clayton though. I think you'd like a titanium square.
Yeah, I know. See, this thing, I think I already know that a little bit. It's just a matter of like, you know, goals that I've set in my watch collecting right now, and I don't want to stray from them, but whatever.
The big wrist, thank you. He says I'm assuming that's titanium. G-Shock weighs 105 grams, size for his 8.5-inch wrist. So, yeah, mine's probably underneath 100 then.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I mean that's great. Tennessee Mike 57 grams lighter than a full metal. So that's 57 grams is noticeable for sure.
Yeah.
So Craig, now we're at the point, we've gone through your collection. Is there anything in the horizon that you're already nodding your head? So please tell us what's going to be next. I'd love to hear it.
Well, I've got a grill piece out there that is probably going to be my next big piece. I mean, there may be some smaller pieces, but and having a wife who's in the hobby as well, we kind of have to plan these things out a little bit. It's not just one purchase you got to worry about, because now there's two people purchasing. So
Right.
I guess the good thing is we don't have any kids, so we're dinks. But no, my next big purchase is going to be a Speedmaster.
Oh,
Speedmaster Racing. It's a 2 subdial chrono. It's got like a white dial with little black around the subdials at 3 and 9.
Yeah.
So it's pretty dynamic. The white's got kind of a texture to it. But yeah, that's going to be my next big piece.
Right. So, I mean, the 10 watches, I mean, I assume you have maybe some other watches in your collection, but we focus on this 10 watches. So would this be, do you have any other chronos?
No, I had a Dan Henry 1962, I think it was. It was a Panda dial. With the three black white dial, three black sub dials, but it was the MK VK Mecha Quartz movement. Kept it, but it was 39 millimeter, and to the point where I've kind of sold off watches that don't have enough wrist presence. I'm starting to embrace that slightly bigger watch, and I've got I've got a wrist that can support it.
Right.
But Black Woman Gamer.
Yeah, she took my next question, and this is a great question. Do you have one big collection, or do you and your wife have separate collections?
We have separate collections. The watch boxes are right next to each other on the dresser, and both the same size. Hers is next to mine, and truthfully, a 7.5-inch wrist and a 6 1/8-inch wrist don't play too well. So, there would have to be a strap or bracelet changes at a minimum. But now her slightly different taste. Maybe I'm a little bit more modern with mine. She's a little bit more vintage inspired with hers. But if you wanted to know a little bit more about that dynamic, I would send you to Clayton's The Watchdog podcast. We were fortunate enough to do an episode with Clayton on what it's like having a spouse collect. So go back into the Watchdog podcast from I don't know, a month, 5 weeks ago, and check that out. So a little bit more into that dynamic.
One more question I have, and so you have this. Both you and your wife are collectors. Do you find that you guys enable each other?
Yeah.
Or do you bounce off and one is more the reserved person and saying, well, let's think about that before we do that.
I think the wife is probably the person that, well, let's hold off for a little bit, or maybe try a lower price alternative to see if you like that style or that movement or that color combination or something like that. But there's a little bit of both, though. There's a little bit of keeping the other in check, and there's also a little of the enabling. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. It's really cool because we're sitting here now chatting with a bunch of people listening in, but this really isn't too much different than an evening at dinner at the Grissom household. So it's really cool to be able to share that and to talk to your spouse about something that you're really passionate about. It's really special. I'm very fortunate.
I agree. Every once in a while, I think my wife, just to entertain me, she'll ask a question, and then I'll start talking, and then you can just see her face, just like, okay, what did I do? It's like Coyote Ugly. She's trying to chew her arm out to get out of the conversation. Well, Craig, man, thank you so much, man. We did an hour and 9 minutes, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on and letting us, get into your collection here and your explanation. Tennessee Mike, maybe Bobby needs to have Heidi on, and if your wife ever wants to join in and want to do this, I'd be more than happy to have her on the show. And guys, thanks for the chat. Thanks for some great questions. Love seeing the conversation going on. If any of you guys are interested in wanting to showcase your collection on the stream. My email is in the description. I'd love to talk to you guys. I'd love to give guys like you and gals like and Craig, the ability to showcase their collection and talk about some of the unique stories behind some of these watches, and have this great conversation like we're having tonight. Craig, again, thank you. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night, and see you in a couple of weeks with the next State of the Watch collection. Take care.
Have a good night.